Now, these two witnesses are subject to, it's a kind of important piece, so let's insert this here. In Revelation 11, verse 5 and 6 says, if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth and devoureth their enemies. Wow. If any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed. These have the power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy. And they have the power over the waters to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will. As you analyze this list of powers that the two witnesses have, you quickly discover they are unique to two people. Two of these powers are unique to Elijah. Two of these powers are unique to Moses. And so that's one of the reasons, that's probably the clearest reason why I think the identity of the two witnesses are...
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, man. And in today's video, we are watching Chuck Missler break down who he believes the two witnesses to be, their powers, and how they will exercise them, man. So I'm not sure just yet if I am post-trib or pre-trib. Not sure. Both point of views are very interesting, man, very compelling, but that's something when I go and do my studies in theology and Christian apologetics, man, I truly want to have all the information in front of me and do a deep dive on it then to make my decision. But in the meantime, you guys can help me out in the comments and, you know, let me know your thoughts on that. Chuck Missler is definitely leaning me more towards pre-tribulation, but, you know, we'll see how that goes, guys. But with that being said, guys, hi, guys. My name is Des. If you're new to the channel, thank you for being here. But this channel is designed to help you be led by the Holy Spirit in everything you do as a young man, as a man just living life, as a father, husband, all that good stuff, guys. So with that being said, thank you for being here. If you like what we're doing here, you want to support the mission, go grab your some merch over at JesusandJapan.store. Link for that will be in the description, guys. But with that being said, let's hop into Chuck Missler's breakdown of the two witnesses.
And we think in Revelation chapter 11, verse 2 to 12, deals with the two witnesses. And I'm among those that believe Elijah is one of those two witnesses, and I'll show you why here in a minute. Now, these two witnesses are subject to, it's a kind of important piece, so let's insert this here. In Revelation 11, verse 5 and 6 says, if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth and devoureth their enemies. Wow. If any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed. These have the power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy. And they have the power over the waters to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will. As you analyze this list of powers that the two witnesses have, you quickly discover they are unique to two people. Two of these powers are unique to Elijah. Two of these powers are unique to Moses. And so that's one of the reasons, that's probably the clearest reason why I think the identity of the two witnesses are forthright. It's interesting that there's an occasion in Luke 9 where James and John, the sons of thunder, they would have, if Jesus had let them, they would have duplicated Elijah's act. We're going to call down fire on these guys. That's what they want to do. No. But I mean, they were ready. That was their mood, if you will. But Jesus rebuked them. Let's talk a little bit about these identities. There were three people expected. In John chapter 1, as it opened, there's a general expectation of either of Elijah or the Messiah or the prophet of Moses, Deuteronomy 18. And these Talmudic Messiah expectations are derived mostly from Malachi and elsewhere. Elijah, because that's the last words in the Old Testament, predicts that. And Moses was predicted, a prophet of Moses, in Deuteronomy 18. So these were three expectations that were extant in John chapter 1, Elijah, Moses, and the Messiah. And that was the question. And John the Baptist says, I'm not the Messiah. And he makes that declaration. Now, he didn't do all the things that Elijah was supposed to do. He did not turn the hearts of the children, as Malachi predicted, nor did he usher in the great and dreadful day, as Malachi. So that means that hasn't happened yet. That's the point that both John and I think I'm trying to make here. Well, there's a second issue about these two witnesses. It's interesting that there are two ministries in the Old Testament that were not allowed to finish. Moses was interrupted in Numbers 20 and Deuteronomy 3. And he didn't get to go in the promised land. In fact, his ministry was curtailed, if you will. Elijah also was incomplete. And you study 1 Kings 17 and 19 and then 2 Kings 2. And so, but the thing that is probably the most persuasive to me is there are unique miraculous powers. There's four of them, two for each of them. Elijah Most people who analyze this all agree on Elijah because he didn't die, and that sort of fixed that. He'd show up again because he called down fire from heaven in 1 Kings 18 and 2 Kings 1 and so forth. He also shut heaven for 3.5 years. Everybody is sensitive to the fact that he caused the drought to end by bringing rain. But you don't pick it up from the Old Testament record, but from the New Testament allusions to that, you pick up that not only did he bring the rain, he was the one that stopped the rain for 3.5 years, both in Luke 4 and in James 5. This is made a reference that he both shut the heavens, not just opened them. That's a subtlety, but and the reason it's so relevant, for how long did Elijah shut the heavens so it wouldn't rain? For 3.5 years. How long do the two witnesses show up? For the first half of the 70th week of Daniel, namely for 3.5 years. You see, it just too much ties together, for me at least, not to see that all tied together. Anyway, the other one, I think, is Moses. A lot of people disagree, but because he was the one that turned water into blood in Exodus 7, he's the one that had all kinds of plagues from Exodus 8 all the way to chapter 12. All the famous plagues were unique, distinctive, if you will, to Moses' ministry. So I think that's another reason I see them both as Moses and Elijah.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. Me personally, I always thought it would be like Elijah and maybe Enoch because of Enoch being taken up to heaven. But I don't know. I guess that would make sense too. Moses did exercise those powers under God's authority, and he could be doing it very much well, do it again, because his ministry was cut short. He was not led into the promised land, though he led the people there. He got a chance to see it, but he did not get a chance to enter it. And maybe that's because his ministry was to be picked up when he becomes one of the two witnesses. That's very interesting. Very interesting.
Now, there's a contrast here with these two witnesses in contrast to the church. The church are supposed to be ministers. The ministers are to be harmless. Philippians 2, Romans 16, all makes reference to that. Well, what's the contradiction here? The rapture's already taken place by the time you get to the 70th week of Daniel, so the church is in heaven. So the unique instructions to the church are not operative here. These guys play rough. When their enemies give them a hard time, they call you.
Yeah, see, now another Chuck Missler point that is leading me more closer to pre-tribulation. Didn't think about it like that. Those guys will be exercising powers that are going to harm folks. And, church ministers, not supposed to harm people, not supposed to do bad. But if the church has already been raptured and it's only people there that don't want anything to do with God and his kingdom, it makes sense to why they are exercising that authority in a way that harms people. That was a very, very crazy point by Chuck Missler.
That should be make a pretty exciting movie, wouldn't it? They could have some fun with that one, probably. But again, as I want to remind, James and John they were willing to try to duplicate Elijah's acts, but Jesus rebuked them in Luke 9. Well, there's a final reason why I don't think it was necessarily Enoch. Everybody likes to say, they always think the two witnesses, Elijah, they all agree because he didn't die. Neither did Enoch, okay? Well, and they argue from Hebrews 9:27, which says that it is appointed unto man once to die, and after this the judgment. And they use that as an argument that this must be Enoch. No, there are a number of people that didn't die once. Lazarus, Jairus' daughter, the widow of Nain's son, and so on. And so that rule, that expression in Hebrews 9:27 is a refutation of reincarnation.
That makes sense. I see where he gets why it could be Moses over Enoch.
The general pattern is man he dies once, and then comes the judgment. There are exceptions. Lazarus, Jairus' daughter, Nain's be an example, and it's for that reason that I don't think Enoch's in the picture here for a number of reasons. I think he really represents the church, and for a number of reasons. But also, first of all, he's a Gentile. The witnesses are Jewish. That'll disturb a lot of our Jewish friends. Too. That's
Enoch's a Gentile.
A suggestion I put on the table. I suspect that Enoch was a model of the rapture.
Oh, wow.
He was removed before the judgment of Noah, and he wasn't pre-flood or mid-flood or post-flood. He was pre-flood, right? Okay. Anyway, He was born
Wow.
and translated on the 6th of Sivan, which is the same as the Feast of Shavuot, which is the Feast of Pentecost. And there's a whole study about that you can get into where we study the feasts of Moses. I won't take the time to get into all that here.
That is amazing. I'm sorry to keep stopping, guys, but that's amazing. Hey, he has a point there. Enoch could have been a example of how the church will be raptured before, the tribulation, because that's what happened to Enoch. He was raptured before the flood that wiped out all the life besides those that were on the boat with Noah. Yeah, that's wild, man. That's wild.
See, I also tend to regard the Transfiguration as a staff meeting. Jesus and these two witnesses are having a discussion, an extended discussion about the second coming. And so we know they've talked about second coming. That seems to be the allusion of Luke 9:31. Also 1 Peter 1 and 2 Peter 1, both Peter was really impressed with that. It shows up. He makes allusions to it in his first letter and in his second letter. And there you get the impression, the suggestive impression
that makes sense too. Didn't think about that either. During the moment of transfiguration, when Jesus was there with Moses and with Elijah. Oh, that's crazy. Like you said, they were having an extended conversation about the second coming, possibly. I mean, no one knows. No one knows their conversation. But with that being said, he did make a very, very powerful point there. Again, dude, he is cooking with grease.
Talking about the second coming. And lying behind all of this is a mystery, and I don't have the answer to it. Why did Michael contend with Satan for the body of Moses? That allusion occurs in Jude 9. We know that God buried Moses in Deuteronomy 34, at the close of that. So Michael is apparently fighting with Satan over the body of Moses. Why is this? It's nowhere in the Bible. We don't know when it happened, why it happened, whatever. It apparently did happen because Jude makes reference to it. And so there must be something distinctive about the body of Moses. And it may have something to do with his being resurrected, not resurrected in the glorious body sense, but brought back to life like Lazarus or Nain and so forth. We use the term resurrection to imply our glorified body, which is coming at the rapture. And Moses, the Old Testament saints aren't really resurrected in the true sense term until the second coming. But what's going on here? Don't know. A lot of guesses. Well, as far as these two witnesses are concerned, there's other suggestions some have. Some think it's John the Apostle and the writer of the Gospel of John. But in the book of Revelation, he's instructed, thou must prophesy again. So some people think that they build on that, the possibility maybe John is one of the two witnesses. I don't think he is, for a lot of reasons. But anyway, we include the Apostle of John in the church, which is in heaven. John was expressly rebuked from desiring Elijah's acts. So I don't see John as one of the two witnesses. There's very few people I've seen have come across that. Others think it might be John the Baptist. Even J. Vernon McGee suggests that as a possibility. And that surprises me for a number of reasons, but be that as it may. Had the nation accepted John the Baptist's ministry, he would have served as Elijah that God sent. They would have also received Jesus. Instead, they rejected both of them and allowed them to be slain. So I don't think he's not my candidate for one of the two witnesses.
Wow, just great. Wow, guys, there you have it again, man. Chuck Missler just delivered some great points on who he believes the two witnesses are, man. And it, like I said, he keeps pushing me closer and closer towards pre-tribulation. And this is just another video where he did just that. And man, he explained why he believed Elijah and Moses were the two witnesses in ways that, it's hard to argue with unless you really know your stuff and you look at the other candidates that he presented, whether it's John the Baptist, whether it's Enoch. You gotta really do some research and digging on that, man. And that's what I want to do some more research on it before I make my decision. But definitely just gave me a nugget to chew on. But guys, if you like what we're doing here, please like and subscribe. Help us push this video out to more people. Go give Chuck Missler's church a subscribe in the description, guys. I think it's pronounced coin, Koinonia. I don't know. I'm always getting it wrong. Please forgive me, but go give their church a subscribe in the description. Watch the video in its entirety on your own. You know, take notes, do all that good stuff, guys. But if you want to support the channel any further than that, guys, go buy you some merch over at jesusandjapan.store. Use code Holy Spirit at checkout to receive 20% off, guys. Really appreciate it. Thanks again, and see you in the next video.